This episode is proudly brought to you by Justice Professional Hair Care Range. Justice Professional offers a range of salon-quality hair care and styling products, including shampoo and conditioner, anti-dandruff and dry scalp treatments, toning products, leave-in treatments, and various hairstyling waxes and sprays. The products contain high-quality ingredients and offer a professional finish at an affordable price.
I am known as Norbert in the womb, and I get emotional when I think about it because I've been doing IVF for years, and I wondered, would I ever have a baby? I really looked down the barrel of never having a baby. I used to fantasize what it would be like to say the words out loud, to tell people you're having a baby. Early on, we'd had an ultrasound, but we'd been so disappointed so many times before to trust that an ultrasound would end up being a baby. The trust you have to give that I'm going to throw myself into this and believe that it will happen. And these are happy tears. I've made you cry too.
Just stop them.
I know, these are happy tears.
Yeah.
It all begins from here.
Hello, you're watching Mummy Time TV. I'm Shezi Denya. Today we're talking about fertility. For some women, falling pregnant just isn't an issue. But feedback from many mums after the first round of Mummy Time TV last year was that quite a lot of you wanted to hear from mums who haven't found falling pregnant an easy process. Now, this topic can be difficult to discuss as it can be quite emotional. But I have three fabulous mums on the couch with me today to discuss their experiences, and hopefully their stories can help many watching at home. So, let's meet them. First up, say hello to Adele. Adele is a very popular mummy blogger known as The Real Mama. Adele had Harvey with the help of IVF and then had a natural surprise with little Chloe. She's a full-time working mum from Melbourne who tells it like it is and is loved for keeping it real. And we're so happy to have her here today. Hello, Adele.
Hello, Jessie.
And next, say hi to Dani. Dani is a yoga teacher from Mildura in Victoria who specialises in fertility, pre- and postnatal and women's yoga. She's suffered from polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis, and she's a mum to little Ivy. She's incredibly interesting, loves making oily concoctions, and I'm thrilled to have her here today. Hello, Dani.
Hi.
And please welcome our third mum today, Gabbi. Gabbi's a mum to 3 little boys, the first of which she had in her 20s. But she struggled with fertility, suffering 6 miscarriages. Since then, she's created the Pink Elephant Support Network, helping other women go through similar experiences, and we welcome her here today. Hello, Gabbi.
Hi, Shezi.
Okay, Adele, let's start with you. Did you ever think that you would have trouble falling pregnant?
Never. If we think back to the education system, there's no preparation for when we reach adolescence and we want to procreate. I mean, we're all told that we should refrain from sex and we should use protection because everybody thinks you're going to fall pregnant. And it's easy for a 17-year-old that can have high fertility and fall pregnant by just smelling a man. But by the time that people reach their adolescence and they do want to have children, a whole world opens up to infertility, loss, miscarriages that no one is prepared for. And I certainly wasn't. I thought that I'd get married and have kids straight away, and it was that perfect cookie cutter, white picket fence, traditional norm. But what happened was when my husband and I decided that we'd get married and have kids, it took us by surprise. It was literally just before we started, before we got married that we started trying, and about 6 months into our marriage we realised that things weren't quite right. And I knew that I had a condition already. It was back when I was about 20 years old that I had full-blown endometriosis. And I had numerous operations, laparoscopies, hysteroscopies, curettes. And after all of the operations, I ended up having an implanol put into my arm. And that was for 3 years, and my period became non-existent. And then when
I had one of those.
They're nasty things.
Yeah.
But what happened was when I had that removed, I had another one put in the other arm. So it was 6 years that I didn't menstruate at all.
Right.
And then when we got married, I had them taken out. My period never returned. So what we found out after 6 months of trying was that I had significant scar tissue on my endometrium, which prevented me from falling pregnant.
Right.
So
it was so scarred that nothing could kind of bed in there.
Exactly. It was a really bad environment for an egg to latch. It was like bad soil.
Yeah.
and you're trying to grow something. So although I was falling pregnant and that we were doing everything right, I would just continually miscarriage every time we tried. I'd gone my whole 20s without realising I had a problem. And it's something that probably could have been prevented. But when we found out that there was that issue, we were given about a 5% chance of falling pregnant. So it was a pretty scary conversation to have, and my husband and I had to be very frank about what we were going to do next. We tried lots of interventions and lots of medications and things like that before we went down the IVF route. So from start to finish, it was about 15 months before we did IVF. We had frank discussions about adoption and what we would do, and also, you know, we had to discuss what we were prepared to do emotionally and financially as well. So we gave ourselves 3 shots at doing IVF, and we were really lucky that it worked the first time.
Wow.
Yes. So,
That's good, because a lot of people don't have that luck.
Absolutely, and a lot of people go through terrible times with trying. So we were one of the lucky ones, but the heartache of that 15 months was so hard, and there were plenty of times that I thought, I don't think we're going to have kids. And
Do you obsess over it?
shocking. I had my spreadsheet. I tracked everything.
For timing when...
Everything, and I became quite obsessed with it because it's such a big process to go through as well, from the lead up to trying, and then to find out that you haven't, and then having to wait all that time again. I did become quite obsessive about it. I don't know how much money I spent on P tests, but every month was so important because you only get 12 shots a year when you think about it. Every month was so important to me, and then it was just the massive disappointment of not falling again. And I did obsess over it, and I got very low. When we had Harvey, I returned to work after mat leave, and then after being back at work for a while, we decided we would have another go at it naturally, and got the distinct feeling that it was exactly the same scenario.
Were you given any advice that it might have been different the second time round because your body knew what to do? Yeah,
the fertility specialist said that there's lots of things that can happen. You can rejuvenate your body almost with the issues that I had. So a full-term pregnancy might rejuvenate the problems that I had. People can say that, you know, if once you have fallen pregnant the first time, your body almost knows what to do the second time.
I've heard that before, but I wasn't quite sure.
Hi, I'm Bex Stevens, and I fell pregnant about 1.5 years ago, but unfortunately had a miscarriage, which was really sad, obviously, and traumatic. But I must say it really helped to chat to other mums who had been through the same thing. And I'm 40 and then fell pregnant again, thankfully, with this little cherub, little Presley. And it only took us 2 months to fall, which was contrary to what many doctors and obstetricians said because of my age, and my husband's 46. And praise God, we've got this little cherub, and he's just adorable.
Nipples.
Nipples, yeah.
Did yours go really dark?
No, mine are just...
Permanently.
No, they didn't actually. They didn't change colour too much, but I did have to wear strap-on nipples to feed Ivy. So
they're like the protector things.
Nipple shields.
Yeah.
So
Hot.
so attractive. Can't you just imagine it? Like, do you want to imagine it?
I'll never forget when they went really dark. I was horrified, and I googled it, and it was a thing, and they were like black, really dark, and
like dark, and they just enlarged.
They doubled.
Like they just dinner plate size,
and now they're permanently like that, erect, all the time.
Are they still that dark?
No, they've gone back, but they've just changed, like dramatically.
You don't still have people hanging off them? You do? Do you?
No, not anymore.
No,
but they've damaged them forever.
Oh, your poor nips.
Hi guys, my name is Crystal. I am almost 37 years old. I suffer from endometriosis as well as adenomyosis, which is where the endometriosis grows in the uterus wall, which means it cannot be removed. which means that a hysterectomy is kind of inevitable for me in the next year or two. I'm hoping not so. I have a 3-year-old little girl who we were told that we would never have. We're given 5% chance. I have since then, maybe in the last 6 months, had 2 miscarriages, one in November at 10 weeks. That was unfortunate for us because we did have a heartbeat and then there was none in our next scan. And then just recently, about 3 weeks ago, I had another miscarriage at 6 weeks. So we are waiting now until maybe September to try again, where we will be starting IVF to help. Obviously, it's easier with IVF to help someone to get pregnant, but to make sure that they stay pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy and a little baby at the end is a little bit more difficult. So we are hopeful, but yes, I am still going through my grieving stage, but I have a little toddler, which is helping me to keep going.
Dani, you also had endometriosis, didn't you? Which is quite similar, but you didn't go down the IVF route.
I didn't know. After coming off the pill in my early 20s, I noticed about a year after that things just weren't right. I was getting my period maybe twice a month, and sometimes my period was lasting. Yeah, sometimes it was lasting up to a month, and then I might go 3 or 4 months without it. So I did leave it for a little while before going to the doctor. And I just went to my normal GP to say, something isn't right. I want to sort this out before I go down the road of wanting to have a baby. I want to sort everything out first so that I don't have to get so obsessive and get the spreadsheets and everything going, because I myself was the same as you, thought that I would get married and just have a baby straight away. You'd just try for it a couple of times and then it would just happen. So I really did think that I would be able to find somebody that could send me down the right path as to what's wrong with me and how it is that I can fix it. It took a long time to be able to get to a specialist though. Nobody would listen to me because I wasn't using the words trying to conceive.
Right.
So it wasn't until, I think it was about 3 or 4 years of just trying to go back to the GP, and all I was getting was, here, we'll put you back on the pill, which is not what I wanted at all. I went off the pill so that I could get my body ready. And then after we got married, so actually before we got married, I did have a GP look at my engagement ring and say to me, is that an engagement ring? And I said, yeah, it is. We're getting married next year. And he said, come back to me when you're married and then we can look at you.
What?
Yep. So I did though. I waited a little while and went back. And it wasn't until I was married and I went back to that same GP and he gave me a referral straight away to go see an obstetrician.
Right.
And she looked at me, did some blood tests, and it took her a week to diagnose me pretty much. Just, you have polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis.
Was that a relief to get told that?
It
Because
was.
you'd wondered what was happening for so long?
Yeah, absolutely it was, because I was looking at everybody else around me going, why am I constantly bleeding? Like, this isn't normal to constantly bleed. And I understood why I was getting hair growing out of my chin and all of that, sort of all of the fun stuff that comes with PCOS as well. So that was a bit of a relief.
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where it wasn't really a conversation of, I mean, my husband and I hadn't used any contraception for maybe 3 years. And we hadn't had the conversation of let's try to have a baby. It was more of a, if it happens, it happens. So that's where we were at.
Yeah.
Until I went to the specialist and she had told me my conditions that I did have and gave me all of these pamphlets just on this is what PCOS is and this is how you can have a baby with all of this medication. So she suggested Clomid, and we both went home and went, this might not happen for us. We need to do this now. Like, that's all right.
That fear, like that moment when you think, and same with you, Adele, this might not happen for us, that's horrible.
Yeah. And it's not until after I've now had Ivy that I've done my own research and figured out ways that you can overcome polycystic ovarian syndrome. My period is now regular, and I'm not on the pill. I'm eating to my cycle, I'm cutting out things that you need to cut out, and everybody of course is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
Learning how to use essential oils with your cycle, and I now do have a regular period, thank God. It's
Hooray! You would have thought we would have been cheering for a regular period.
No.
Well, I know sometimes I wish that I wouldn't get it, but
Yeah, so I'm really hoping to go down the track of not needing Clomid next time, so
Yeah.
that Ivy can have a little brother or sister one day. But just having that sort of information beforehand, not if the doctors didn't just fob me off because I wasn't using the words trying to conceive. Then,
and you weren't married.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so. Yeah, it's very strange. It's very backwards. Gabbi, on to you. Your story is quite different because you had your first child in your 20s.
Yeah.
And then take us through what happened.
Yeah, so I had my first son, Josh, when I was 24. So my second cycle, bang, done, so that was really good. Then obviously, yes, marriage, that one didn't work. Got married again in my, when I was about 34.
So still not old, still quite young, but not as young as 20.
Yeah. And so, obviously, we wanted to have a family. And much like you, after about 6 months, kind of thought, yes, they say up to 12 months, but now I'm 35 and it's a bit, I Googled, as you do, and I thought, I bought a sperm test online because I thought, well, it's not me because I've had a baby, so clearly it's you.
Always blame the man.
So I got the sperm test and actually it did come up with whatever, I can't remember exactly, but whatever the colour wasn't meant to be, so, oh my God, we better go to the GP. So we went to the GP and she did do the proper semen, got the the tests that you do, and it said he had very poor morphology, which was the shape, which meant that they couldn't get into the egg to fertilise. So she basically said, you're just going to have to do IVF. So we were like, okay, but again, I'm very much okay. Well, that's fine. That's what we'll do because I like to have a plan. I like to know, so that's what we'll do. Anyway, after a few months, we cut out alcohol, we cut out red meat, we were vitamining up and doing all of the things that you were meant to do. And he actually had a retest and all his sperm went, within all of the normal ranges. So I was like, oh, okay. But we were already kind of had seen the specialist and she was, the first one we saw was very much, there's nothing wrong with you two, you'll be pregnant in 6 months, just, okay, fine.
Just
very
trying.
much no, she was very much happy to do it, but just, you guys will be fine. Anyway, so we did 3 initial cycles with her and there was nothing, which then had taken us probably over that 6 months.
So what do you mean by 3 initial cycles?
Oh, sorry. Full cycles, they call them stimulation cycles, where you're injecting all the hormones, and then you have what they call the egg collection. So you've got the hormones which are meant to produce more eggs, because you would normally only produce 1 egg, maybe 2, but 1 per cycle. So you're doing loads of eggs to then get them taken out, put them together with the sperm and do their thing, and hopefully they would fertilise. And we were getting initial good fertilisation rates, but then they were just kind of dropping off. So we were still putting them in, but was just nothing happening. Anyway, then I changed doctors and...
That's so full on though, isn't it? I'm just listening to that now and picturing, so you because obviously I didn't have IVF, so I'm not across the whole process, but I know that you inject yourself with the hormones, which I can't imagine how difficult that would be. And you did this for a long time, didn't you?
Yeah, we ended up doing, over about a 2-year period, we did 8 full cycles, which is 8 the stimulation ones where they take the eggs out of you, and we did 2 frozen cycles as well, so transferring the 2. And so after the first cycle we only transferred 1. After all of them we were transferring 2 embryos every single time, and there was nothing, just nothing. And we were crazy lady over here Googling. I found specialists in America. We sent our blood over to America. I was determined that there was something. Like, don't tell me unexplained, because no, there's a reason. We just don't know it.
Yeah.
So, and I was just,
And you obsessed?
Yeah, I obsessed. My poor doctor, I would go in and I would have my list and I go, so I've been reading that da-da-da-da, and he'd go, Gabby, no, we have a process, we have the way that we do things, and none of that's been proven. So anyway, off we went, and look, then it really just became, I think it's your eggs. It's like, oh, I've already had a child, like, it's not my eggs. And it's like, yeah, well, that was 10 years ago,
And it can change in 10 years?
Yeah, it can. I mean, from 35 is when your egg quality does start to decline, and perhaps mine was just going down faster, So it was definitely that, do we do donor eggs? What do we do? Which I was willing to, really.
At that point, you're so desperate to have a baby. You
Yeah,
didn't care,
yes,
but-
I already had my son, but I really wanted Cam, my husband. I wanted him to be able to have his child as well. Anyway, so we just went away to think about it. We actually had decided we were going to do a PGD cycle, which is where, you kind of gather up as many embryos as you can, and they test every one of them for all of the most common genetic, there's a few trisomies and just different kinds of things. But I said I'd wait a few months. I wanted to, get my body, not that there was anything wrong, but peak health. I was going to do acupuncture and Chinese herbs and do all of the things, which I did. And then, so we went back to do the first cycle, and, just had some blood work done, just to make sure everything's fine. And the nurse called and she said, your progesterone's quite high. I went, is that bad? And she goes, no, just saying. But it kind of played in my mind, because I knew that when you're pregnant, your progesterone gets higher. And I was with a girlfriend and she said, do a test. I said, as if. I did a test, or 5, and I was pregnant naturally.
That's
unbelievably.
With the 7, the wee test,
Yeah. Oh, I know, because,
I'd hate to know how much I spent.
And you had to make sure,
Absolutely.
You were looking at that. So
then I called the clinic and I was like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. And so, yes, I was pregnant. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I bled for the first 17 weeks. And so I just kept thinking, I'm going, that's it, it's done, I'm losing it. No. But I didn't, and went to term and had my little boy. So, unbelievably. Then about 8 months after that, we fell pregnant again naturally. Gone from all these years of not to suddenly just, and we were so happy, unbelievably. It was, I know you shouldn't, I kind of felt like this was this is meant to be. We went through all of that stuff, and this is the good thing now that, we're going to get pregnant naturally and it's all fine. And then we miscarried that one at 9 weeks, and I was just devastated. It hit me it was this isn't fair, this isn't what's wrong with the universe, and why is this happening? And I was broken. I just, yeah. So, anyway, and so we had 3 frozen embryos left from all of our IVF, and so I decided, well, we need to use them as much as I thought. We've already transferred 19 embryos. None of those worked, as if these 3. Anyway, so we transferred 1, didn't work, transferred the second one, and lo and behold, that became my 3rd little boy, Samuel. And then we had 1 more left, and I just couldn't destroy it. I just thought, let's see what happens. And that didn't work. Anyway, so that was kind of the end of my IVF journey.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm the very proud mother of a beautiful 4-year-old little girl, Darcy. Until recently, fertility wasn't something that I was actually able to talk about. I found it deeply personal. It took us 5 years to hold Darcy in our arms, and unfortunately 5 pregnancies. We went through a multitude of fertility treatments to conceive Darcy: IUI, IVF, naturopathy, acupuncture, legs up in the air and gravity, you name it, we tried it. And it taught me a resilience and a strength that I had no idea was inside me. And I've decided to do this because, gosh, there must be somebody else out there that's feeling exactly the same way and feeling like it's hopeless, but yeah, it's not.